So, kaliLinux is a Debian-based Linux distribution aimed at advanced penetration testing and security auditing. Kali contains several hundred tools which are geared towards various information security tasks, such as penetration testing, security research, computer forensics, and reverse engineering. kaliLinux is developed, funded, and maintained by Offensive Security, a leading information security training company. Now, we're going to use Kali as the attacker system. However, if you don't want to use Kali for whatever reason, you can download the tools that we use and install them to your host machine. So let's download it and install it as a virtual machine on our host system. So I'm going to prepare the Kali VM directly from the VirtualBox image first. The first step is to download the VM files. Open the browser and simply Google the words Kali and download. The first website is the official site of Kali, so click on it. This is the download page of Kali. These are the ISO files. You can use them to install Kali as the main host or as a virtual machine in any virtualization platform. Now, these are the images that you can use to install. With the latest release, kaliLinux announced that the images have been restructured and simplified. So from now on, kaliLinux has new image styles: installer image, a live image, and a network installer image. Installer image is recommended for users who want to use kaliLinux on their system. No network connection is required. You can choose desktop environments such as XFCE, KDE, GNOME, and any other tools that you want to install during your installation. Now, the second one is a live image. So it's used to run Kali without installing it. And the last one is a network install image. The smallest image, of course, to download, containing only enough to install the base system that requires a network connection to install selected applications. At the bottom of the Kali image files table, there are ready-to-use, almost ready-to-use Kali virtual machines. So if you're going to use Kali as a virtual machine, you can use them instead of installing ISO files from scratch. Click this link under the kaliLinux VirtualBox tab to download the OVA file. And the download has been completed. So here you can just simply run the OVA file to run the VM. So the second step is to install Kali. Well, since we'll use the OVA file, it'd be better to say import for this step. And the download's finished. It's under the download folder. Now I'll open a VirtualBox interface, choose import, and choose the OVA file under the download folder and click continue. So as you can see, there are the suggested settings of VirtualBox for the imported virtual machine. RAM is 2 gigs by default. Now just click import and agree to the license agreement in order to continue. And it starts to import. It may take a couple of minutes. Installation's finished, and this is the summary of the VM. RAM is 2 gigabytes by default, and if you have enough RAM on your host system, I suggest you increase it. Networking is NAT at just as I want. Now just click on the Start button. Okay, so our Kali is booting for the first time. Click Switch for the full screen mode. And here we are at the login screen. Now, in addition to the changes that I mentioned in the previous lecture, there is another important change in this Kali 2020.2 release. The default user account is now a standard, unprivileged user. Kali is no longer using the super user account root by default, right? So the new default credentials are Kali and Kali. Now, normally the screen resolution automatically fits your particular screen, but if you have any resolution problems like I appear to be having, you can change the scale for your screen. So first, I'll just open up the display settings, and I can choose the resolution value to be 1920 by 1200 and click the Apply button. Now go to Preferences, and under the Display tab, you can change the scale factor. So I'll set this value to be 190% of my screen, and you can change it to whatever you want and just try different values for your screen. All right, so I'll click OK. Now let's look at the changes. Yeah, that's pretty good. So let's open a terminal screen and check the network connection. When I run the ifconfig command with standard user privileges, I will get an error because the ifconfig command is under the sbin folder and requires root privileges. So why don't we have a look inside that sbin folder? As you can see, I can run the cd, pwd, and ls commands without sudo. These commands do not require root privileges. However, the commands that are under the sbin folder must be run with sudo. Ifconfig is here, and let's run this command with sudo. And it's okay now. Of course, there is a more practical solution. We can always switch the user to root so that we don't have to write sudo for every command that requires root privileges. So let's run sudo su. Okay, so I'm root now, and I'll double check that with the whoami command. Well, now I can run any command which requires super user privileges without sudo. And this is my IP address. If ifconfig didn't obtain an IP address, that means that you have a problem with your network configuration. It's not a problem. Problems do occur, and I certainly will give you some solutions to fix any possible network problems